Hey YouTube, it's petey twofinger, and today I wanted to talk about XML-T6 flashlights. This is an ultrafire. Anything with the XML-T6 is the ones that I really like to use. They're affordable, typically cost around $5 or $6. The only mods that I do is I'll put a hang-in clip on it. And if you use them over the years, they will foul out on the screw contacts in here. So I will take a small, like a dollar store wire brush, something like this, and just clean that up. One of the other things that I do is, if the unit needs it, I will apply solder on the contact points. So back here we have, this is a spring-loaded tab that makes contact with the battery. And as you can see, I actually put solder on my 18650 batteries on the positive and the negative. Just find that it makes a little better connection. In order to disassemble one of these, if you have a smaller gauge needle nose, this is one that I just picked up that I really like. It doesn't have any teeth. I'd say it's about, I don't know, I've got a 4.5 or a 5. I'd say this is like a 4. So when you take these things apart, if you look inside them, and I have had issues with these going bad after years of use, because I've had these for a long time. Okay, so in here, can you see those two holes? You put this needle nose, use it totally improperly, and then you can unscrew this. So where I have found where they foul out, besides the body contacts, where the threading is, if that's got all gunk in there, and let's say you've soldered your battery, you put a little solder on the end here, you took this side apart and removed the LED element, and that heatsink aluminum assembly, there's a spring in there that I'll solder that, like the way they come from the factory is just a little dab of solder holding it on there. I'll solder all the way around there. I'll apply some paste flux and really reinforce that, and then I put solder on the business end where it makes contact with the positive side of the battery. So my theory is that solder is a little bit better, because if it does, it doesn't rust, and if it fouls, if it gets, you know, wherever there's a power connection that's not soldered, like it's just two things pushed together by a spring tab, oftentimes they will foul. It's almost like they'll attract particulate that somehow welds itself in there and causes a smudge that's really hard to remove. Anyway, this is why I put solder on every point of contact in the flashlight, and then they work really good. And they like, without doing that, oftentimes you'll get one of these that you turn it on, it's kind of dim, or it'll flicker a lot. Now I know that there's a strobe light mode. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about poor operation. Now the main thing is the switch. The switch lives in here. There's this orange rubber tab. So if you get in here on those two holes and unscrew this ring and remove that, then you can eventually get a little bit more room to grab at this nylon assembly. I reach in there with a larger size needle nose or pliers and wiggle that out, or thread it. They can be different. I've seen different ways of putting these together. And what it is, it's a block. It's an injection molded nylon or plastic block, and the switch mechanism sits in there. The switch is black and this block is white. So once you get it all apart, you'll see this little tab here is probably brass. Then there's another spring in there. And not like I said, I solder the back end of that spring, and there is two metal tabs that come out of the switching unit. So you have the circular thing that's got a cutout in it, and then the switch sits in there, which is black plastic. And there's one tab that comes out that makes contact with the side here, and then there's another tab which is like a tongue, and that's it's maybe a centimeter or a little less wide, and it runs the length of this. So it's a little tab that like bends over, and that's what makes contact with this spring here that pushes the tab out to make contact with the battery. So if you have one of these flashlights and it's acting goofy and you've cleaned everything, I mean, again, you don't have to go crazy and solder all the contact points. But if you chase everything else down and it's still acting goofy, take this apart, because that tongue was fouled in there. It had black stuff on there and it would not come off. I couldn't get it to come off. I was using like a kitchen scrubby pad, and I didn't have steel wool in hand. I ended up using the light side of an emery board and just real carefully just going right in where it was fouled and specifically removing the gunk, rather than just cutting it and scoring it, because then it's probably like plated, and if I did scratch it, it may want to rust. But ultimately, after I removed the schmutz, I applied paste flux and a thin layer of solder. And then this flashlight works really good. It works just along with my other XML-T6s, which I really love these flashlights. And I've purchased just about all of the single 18650 like low-end cheap flashlights that they sell on eBay or Fast Tech. I've tried a few of them, and I got to tell you, as far as the performance of it, see here, I've got 3 XML-T6s here. These are the ones. They're great. And for the price, and considering, you know, it's a $5 flashlight, so with a little bit of modification on it, like I said, and I'm sure a lot of people would say, oh, don't do that, don't solder on the points. Well, you could go in there and just clean it. Well, my theory on that is, and again, this is theoretical, I'm not an expert, cleaning it is like, well, if it got dirty once, it's probably going to get dirty again. And my thing of soldering it means that even if I'm a little aggressive when I clean it, putting the solder on there, well, the solder is not going to rust and it's not going to oxidize. So my experience has been, once you go through and you put applied solder on all the contact points in this, which really it's one here, and then 2 more inside the switch contacts, 1 on the side and 1 on the tongue. So it's 4 spots you got to solder. Is that right? No, 5 because I did the spring, and 6 because I did the base of the spring. So it's you know, it's under 10. And you'll spend a good hour tinkering, taking it apart and applying the paste flux, and liberally, you know, less is more on this. But my experience has been, once you've been in one of these things and you patched it up with some nice quality soldering, it's not lumpy or anything, it's nice and smooth, just enough to coat it, not overdoing it, you're good. This will run like a raped ape. And I love these flashlights. They're ridiculously bright. My own personal one, I will try to run see that disco party mode, that's the only thing I don't like. And I know there's a mod you can do on some of them where you can get in there and supposedly use a pencil and like color something, and it'll defeat the disco party mode. But anyway, you guys, if you don't own a lithium-ion rechargeable setup, you should think about it. They're way better than purchasing traditional batteries. Right now I'm running, I've got 7 or so that I'm charging in my 10 banger, and I've got 3 or 4 banger chargers and a couple singles. And the one single has a unique feature where if I've got a battery that refuses to take a charge, I can do a trick where it's got a spring-loaded contact, that's a common design application. But this one charger, like if you put a battery in, and typically the LED will either be green that it's fully charged, or red that it's taking a charge. And I find that occasionally I'll run into these batteries that LED doesn't come on at all. And this one particular charger, if you take it and kind of jerk it, you go like, okay, it's making contact, break contact, make contact, break contact, make contact. If you do that, if you jerk it, it will eventually come on. The light will come on, it'll start to be dim red, and then you pop it a few more times and you can like shock it back to life. So there's something in the circuitry of that charger which is different than my other chargers, and I've been able to bring some of these back to life. Now, what you find if you start collecting, if you get into the 18650 game, it's a great game to get into, man. I just absolutely love these batteries, and you can purchase battery holders, little trays, singles, doubles, triples, and 4. And then they have these bricks you can do. There's people that power their houses off of this stuff, and this is the same battery that's in a Tesla. But my point being, you can start using these in your projects, which is really cool. And if it wasn't for these 18650s, I'd still be using SLA or seal lead acid batteries for everything, which is kind of heavy, and it's overdoing it for a lot of things. Like if I'm just running smaller circuitry, you know, and two of them come up to 8.5 volts, which will power a pedal very nicely. I know it's not 9, but you never know the difference if you listen to our music. You wouldn't go, hey, there's a 0.5 volt discrepancy there in that guy's rig. F these clowns. So anyway, I hope that was entertaining. And again, I'm kind of trying to twist your arm. Go on eBay and look for an XML-T6, or go to Fast Tech. You can get the chargers there. Fast Tech sells the chargers for like $1. You can get a cheap charger. Although now after COVID, it's probably $80. But yeah, if you haven't gotten into the game with these 18650s, I would really twist your arm. You can find them in old dead laptop battery packs at the resale store. They've got them all the time for $3 to $5. You get a pack and you just put some gloves on, crack it this way, just and stick a screwdriver in there like a big regular and pop it open, and there'll be 6 of them in there. And you can pull them apart, throw them in a charger, and 9 times out of 10 they'll all charge up. And you know, like I remember looking at Walmart.com, and like they were selling a single 18650. Now it was a good one. It was like a 2200 mAh, but it was $16 for a single battery. So the idea of, you know, paying $3 for a pack of these things that are dead, and then recycling them, and you know, getting 6 of them for $3, that's worth my time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If not, why not leave a comment? Try to stay cool, take care of yourselves, hug your pets, and peace.